everything that you want to achieve is not about talent. It's about discipline. It's about effort. It's about work. They gave me a huge meaning.
Colombian Senator Paloma Valencia, leader of the opposition and candidate to the presidency of Colombia.
So in a sense, I feel that we have to build better opportunities. And of course, it is to do with the education. So that's why I have a project which has been very controversial in Colombia. That is, I was from a very violent region in the south of Colombia called Cauca, which still is a very violent region. And I grew seeing a lot of people kidnapped, a lot of people killed, a lot of peasants killed, a lot of people being afraid. And that was the way we lived.
What particularly sparked your interest in politics? Was there a specific moment that you were like, I want to become active in politics, run for a position?
I met former President Uribe, who was at that point governor of Antioquia, one of the regions of Colombia. And he was saying that. He was saying, you know, the monopoly of strength should be in the state, not in the guerrillas, not in the paramilitaries, not in the private security. It should be in the state. And when he won, I felt that Colombia became different. We recovered the hope. We were able to see that violence could be defeated. We saw that the government actually was able to do something, And
hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast Female Empowerment. With us today is from Colombia, Senator Paloma Valencia. Senator, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Hi, Simone. I'm really happy to be here. I give the warmest greetings to everybody who is following us today.
Well, in order to get to know you better, from your childhood to adult life, what shaped you? What made you become the woman or the person that you are today?
Well, I say, of course, my teachers in school and in college were very definitive, because they show me that everything that you want to achieve is not about talent. It's about discipline. It's about effort. It's about work. And I think that's a huge. They gave me a huge meaning about the ownership of your future. And I'll say, of course, my family. My family, it's very involved in social issues and politics and trying to build a better society. And of course, each of their members gave me the opportunity to have deep conversations about the things that are wrong, the things that should change, the things that we need, the things that we can build upon. So, of course, I think it's a reunion of the surrounding, and of course the fact that I became aware very young that you own your future, that you're capable of changing the world. I don't know if you can do it, but I always have thought that you can change the world.
That's very interesting to hear. Well, you mentioned that college has had an impact on you. Could you tell us from graduating till your first experiences in the working field, what has it been like? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, of course. I study law, and I also graduated from philosophy. Then I made a certificate in economics, and afterwards I did my master's in creative writing in the U.S. And of course, I'll say in every point I was looking forward to see where I could just take place to change the world. You may say it has been an obsession for me to think that you can build a better world. And so I also made a certificate in environmental management. So what happens was I was working, but I always had this impulse of writing and going into talking about politics in the media, in the radio. So as I was studying in university, someone asked, who wants to make this program Saturdays at 6 a.m. Who nobody will listen. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll go anywhere and tape this program. And then I got the opportunity to write in a newspaper, a small newspaper, and then in a bigger one, and then in a bigger one. And that's how I became like really, really into talking, raising my voice to talk about the Colombian problems and the issues and the way they should be solved.
Yeah, I really loved how you said not just that you were active in politics, but also what was interesting for you is the social issues, because they do come with being active in politics. I really loved how you phrased that. Yeah, we've mentioned that you are active in politics. You're a senator now, but what particularly sparked your interest in politics? Was there a specific moment that you were like, I want to become active in politics, run for a position?
Well, I have always been interested in politics, because when you live in a country that has so much violence as Colombia, where you live in a country where you see so much suffering because of this violence, because of the poverty, of course, you cannot live in a society that is unjust, that is suffering, and just do nothing. So I always felt that I should do something. And what should I do was the big question. Where should I do it? That's why probably I became like active in writing, just saying, okay, this is wrong, this is happening, look what's happening. Because during the 90s, when I was very young, what you could see in Colombia is that we have this huge violence. However, politicians were not talking about it. It wasn't like a political issue. Security as a word that defined a right from the people to be safe wasn't built as you can say it now. So of course, I was from a very violent region in the south of Colombia called Cauca, which still is a very violent region. And I grew seeing a lot of people kidnapped, a lot of people killed, a lot of peasants killed, a lot of people being afraid. And that was the way we lived in the middle of fear. And of course, that moved me to feel, the state, the government should be the one who provides security. And then I met President Uribe, former President Uribe, who was at that point governor of Antioquia, one of the regions of Colombia. And he was saying that. He was saying, the monopoly of strength should be in the state, not in the guerrillas, not in the paramilitaries, not in the private security. It should be in the state. And I agree 100%. So when he ran for office, I was really looking forward for him to win. And when he won, I felt that Colombia became different. We recovered the hope. We were able to see that violence could be defeated. We saw that the government actually was able to do something. And when the re-election debate began, because in Colombia wasn't allowed to re-elect a president, so I said, I should talk about this. And then I got this more important columns and opinion pieces in bigger newspapers around Colombia, that opened me the door to speak, not only by these newspapers, but also in radio, because like what I wrote was giving people like a lot of debate about things. So they invited me to radio, they invited me to talk about things, and that's where my voice became bigger. So I'll say, of course, President Uribe was definitely, he inspired me to go into office. And then years afterwards, when he decided to create his own party, he invited me to be part of his list. And I was the third one. He was the first one, then a former minister of his government, and then me. And then I came into office in 2014.
Wow. Yeah, and like as a columnist, as an author, you had the possibility to start a debate to talk about the issues that were going around or going on. What is your number one advice to write a strong argument?
I'll say that when you write a strong argument, you have to be very careful about making a joke of those who think against your argument. You should take into account everything that they think, everything that they feel, everything that they fear. So you can build an argument that it's wrong. Wrong in the sense that not only those who think like you will accept, but it will give pieces of questions to those who do not think like you. So when I build an argument, I'm really, really careful about thinking what those who do not agree with me are thinking, what they feel, what they fear, what they say. So you can build something that is robust enough to at least ask them some questions.
Yeah, that's a great advice. To write, when you write, you take into account what the reader, how their reaction is going to be and what position they are. That's very interesting. Yeah. Now you're also
and especially those who doesn't think like you.
Yeah.
Especially those who do not think like you. Because usually what happens is when you write, you try to build your argument and you do not take into account those arguments that are out there and that are crashing with yours. So you should build a big defense, a big I don't know, like a big argument against the other arguments, so you can win at the end.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, now you're also the leader of the opposition in Parliament. As a leader, for which qualities do you want to be known?
Well, I think it's Colombia has a lot of issues, but I'll say there are two things that I'm really worried about. First of all, the issue of the young people. Colombia has a lot of young people, which is they're looking to their future and they don't see anything. Of course, it has to be with the changes of everything, with the violence and the fact that in many cases, if you're a poor Colombian, you will feel that you have more opportunities going into the criminal career than staying into the legal career, because salaries are low, opportunities are difficult. You have a lot of issues in the way in which you can find a job. But then if you go into the criminal career, you will have a lot of money, of the drugs, of the legal mining, of the illegal trafficking, and you will have a gun and you will get a lot of respect. So in a sense, I feel that we have to build better opportunities. And of course, it is to do with the education. If you see, public education in Colombia has become really bad. If you see the figures, you can easily see that public education is in average getting lower grades in the state's test than the private education. And it is building a very difficult gap, because if you don't have money, you will have to go to the public education and you will be sent to a worse education that those who has money to pay. And of course, it builds a very complicated issue here, because you will have you're reproducing all the inequality that you have in the society in the institutions. That's why I have a project which has been very controversial in Colombia, that is the creation of the voucher for schools. So you can go to private school, but the government will pay for your everything in the private school, even your fee, your month payment, your materials, your food, everything. And of course, it will give a lot of competition. This is the way you can say you can subsidize not only the offer, but the demand of education. And I think that's a way in which you can change education. And my second biggest concern in the social speaking is about the people who are working in small businesses, which is, of course, the peasants in the rural areas, which are they have lack of credits, they have lack of knowledge, they are lived like alone in a very tough situation. So I think we should focus on giving them credit and giving them specific information about the land, the kind of cultivation or products they should be farming, and of course the transformation of these products. Because one of the issues for the poor people in the rural areas is that when you have a tomato and the tomato is going to get rotten, you have to sell it, and you have to sell it in the price you are offered. You don't have time to negotiate. So if you transform this tomato in tomato sauce, for example, you will have more time to negotiate. So you have to take out of this equation the fact that peasants are always with products that are going to get rotten. So I think that's something we should work on. And of course, all the issues of small businesses. In Colombia, we have a very particular issue, is that we have a very small economy. If you go into the legal economy, that is fulfilling all the laws that you have to fulfill, and you have the illegal in the other side, which is just criminal economies like drug trafficking, illegal mining, criminal mining, and you have something in between, which is called informal economy, which is people who has a very small business or a business, but it's not fulfilling all the requirements that the Colombian laws are asking. And I'm going to give you an example. If you have a worker in your business, you should be paid the minimum salary, but you should also pay for his health, for his pension, for his kind of social security system. And many of the people in Colombia are not paying that. So they're going to the informal economy. Or you don't have a permit of having an oven and doing bread. But even though you're doing it in your garage and you're selling all this bread, or you have just this shop for foods or things in your garage or in your house, and you're selling things, but you don't have any permit. So this informal economy, it's one of the issues that all Latin America has to work on, because this gives you a lot of problems in productivity, a lot of problems in the way in which you don't know them, so you cannot build policies for them. So I think this is also one of my critical issues. I had a project which now is a law that is called the stair of formality, in which we reduce all these requirements and we lower the prices of being formal and try to help people to get their business on, and gives the opportunity to go to the government to give them like a registration for free, so you can know them, you can know where they are, what they're doing. Because something really weird happened during the pandemic. It was like Colombia had a lot of small business. This is the biggest part of our economy. They were closing down, but nobody could do anything because we didn't know who they were, where they were, what were they doing. So if you wanted to give them, I don't know, a subsidy for them to stay during the pandemic alive, you couldn't do it because you didn't know anything about them. So we have to build this information, and this is one of my biggest interests now.
Well, from educational possibilities to economical possibilities, I do think they're related. If you get a good education, you have the chance of a better income. Not always, but in most cases, that's true. And one question I still have. You said that children had the possibility of attending private schools, which the government would pay for. How do the children apply for these school places?
This is already have been done in many places in the world. It's the scholar voucher. Actually, Colombia had this model during the 90s, and Kramer, a Nobel Prize of Economy, studied them, and he recommended actually very emphatically to Colombia that still do that. The way in which we're thinking about it is only for poor children, people who are families that are in poverty, in vulnerability, which are very, very, very sensitive to this, to choose a school. And how does it work? You have like a voucher, which is previously the government will negotiate with all the private schools that want to come into the program, and they will decide how much the government will pay, how much the charge for the government will be, how much do you need for transport, for food, for materials, for the pension, for the fees of being in the school. And this will be negotiated first, and then the person, the people, the families will know, okay, these are the schools that are participating, and they will go. And this is a critical issue here, because what we thought is the school will choose the children upon the ones who apply. But some experts has been telling us that we should assign the children with no exam to the schools. So you will say, like a lottery, you will say, okay, they apply, I don't know, 100 children apply to the school, and you will receive 30 of them, and we will put them in a sort of lottery, and those who are selected will go to that school, and then you will have to apply to many schools and see in which are you assigned to.
Okay, that is very interesting. Now back to your personality and your career. Is there something you nowadays think, today I would have handled this differently? Has there been a particular situation?
Well, it's different. It's very difficult to think from all the mistakes you have made. But I won't change anything. I feel like, of course, I have done a lot of mistakes, and probably if I have known the effect, I wouldn't have done it. But now I think everything I have done has brought me here. So you don't know what you can erase without erasing yourself. So no, I think you should live with your mistakes and learn about them, and be able to see that you're not perfect, and you have a lot of issues and defects and failures and liabilities, and all of them teaches you something. So I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I somewhere heard that sometimes we have to look at mistakes like missed takes. We can learn from them and then move on, do better next time. And I think for me, it shifted my view on making mistakes. Just have another take next time. So thank you for your answer.
No, I think mistakes are, in a sense, mistakes are a way to learn. You cannot learn in the way you learn with a mistake if you don't fail.
Yeah.
It's important to fail. It's important to know that you can fail, and that you're vulnerable, and that you can suffer, and that you learn afterwards.
You grow out of it.
You don't die from.
That's true.
You don't die. What in Colombia they say, lo que no te mata te hace más fuerte. What doesn't kill you make you stronger.
That is true. That's true. These days, what are you most looking forward to?
At these days, Christmas. Of course, I'm looking forward to Christmas. I have a girl which is 6 years old, and she's really, really looking forward to Christmas, and she's planning the dinner and the presents, and she's doing cards and thinking what she's going to give to everybody. And I think it's so beautiful to see a child happy about meeting with their family and sharing things. Of course, Christmas. I'm looking forward to Christmas now.
Same here. It even started to snow already in Germany, so even more wonderful.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Very early, I thought.
Yeah, it is. It's quite early, but I won't complain. I love the snow. Okay, the next question is, what is the best description you've ever heard about Colombia?
I think the best description I don't know. You have a lot of descriptions about Colombia, but maybe what moved me more during the time of all this violence and former President Uribe was they built this campaign to sell Colombia internationally, and was the only risk in Colombia is that you will love to stay.
I love that.
And I think it was very intelligent, because of course everybody thought about Colombia at that point as a very dangerous country. But the fact that the risk became the willingness of the people staying in Colombia, because it was so marvelous. It was like the bad things were so small compared to all the good things, was the way in which I think all Colombians felt. We have a lot of problems, but we are a really resilient, beautiful, biodiverse, uh, multicultural country in which you feel happy. And I always ask the 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 tourists and the people who come to visit Colombia, but do you like it? And they say people are so lovely, and we have a lot of problems, but people here are really lovely.
There are always two sides on the same coin. Yeah, we do have to see the positive sides as well. Thank you so much. The last question before we go over to the more informal part, where we want to know your personality a bit better, is what advice do you have for women who are pursuing a career in politics and or writing?
Well, I say trust yourself. Trust yourself. I think doing something needs a lot of strength, and strength comes from a healthy inner strength. You have to believe in yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to feel you're going to be able. That's a beautiful children's story or adult story, that it's about this seller of sausages who meets this magnificent magician, and this magician can fly, and this sausage seller becomes his apprentice because he wants to learn to fly. And the magician is a very bad shape. He's like always in a mess. But then the apprentice is always asking him, well, tell me the secret. How can I fly? And the magician is always like, believe you can fly. And the apprentice always thought the magician didn't want to tell him the secret. So at the end of the life, he goes away and whatever, and he finds many years later this magician who's dying, and he goes to him and says, okay, do you remember me? I was just your apprentice. I really need this secret. Tell me how to fly. And the magician look at him really closely and says, convince yourself that you can fly and fly.
It's a simple recipe, but it works.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Isidora is now going to take over the informal questions.
Great.
But thank you so much for your answer. It has been a pleasure meeting you.
So let's go, Paloma. We are very excited to know more about you. So let's go with the first question. What has been the best gift you've ever received?
My child's gift. She made a necklace for me from, I don't know what's the name of that. It's like a
in Spanish.
¿Cómo se llama? Polychrome. It's a thing. It's like a thing you make, and then it goes really hard. And she made a beautiful necklace for me, and I thought it was so beautiful because he gave it for me in the Mother's Day, and she made a breakfast and a card and this necklace, and she was so proud about it. It is definitely my best gift.
So sweet, really. Name one invention you can live without in your daily life.
What?
An invention that you can live in your daily life.
The cell phone. Oh, you have
I
everything
think
here.
all of
So
us.
like, if you take out the cell phone, I'll die.
Yeah, I know. I think anyone can live without the phone.
No, no, that's
Incredible.
my office. That's my communication. That's like everything.
The best advice you've ever been given.
The best advice. I will say it is one advice, but I'll say for my political career, of course, the mentorship of former President Uribe has been definitely something that has built my character as a politician and has built the way in which I feel a politician should behave. And it's not that he told me you should do this, but
Mhm.
he gave me an example of how it should be done.
Thank you. And change of theme. To which song can you always think along to?
I love a lot of music, but it all depends on the time. I usually do not hear music when I'm working because I get like singing, so I cannot concentrate easily with music. But I love Shakira. She has
What
grown
song,
with
for
me.
example?
She has grown with me forever. So uh, nowadays, all their songs like the one with Bizarrap and the one with Carol G, I love. Carol G and Shakira, they are two
Mhm.
Colombian singers, and they made this huge song because they were fighting, which Shakira with his husband, and and Carol G with her former boyfriend, and and it is really uh, it isn't that profound about anything, but seeing those two women together with that strength, I love that song. I really usually when I'm dressing up, I put it to hear it and to be in the mood for the day.
And you love also Shakira.
Yeah, I love Shakira. She's my favorite singer ever.
Cool, thank you. If you could bring back one trend from the 80s, which one would be
A what? A what from the 80s?
80s?
But a what?
A trend from the
Ah,
80s.
trend. 80s were very difficult. I don't know. I was very small in the 80s. But I'll say the sneakers were really nice in the 80s.
And why you remember the sneakers?
I don't know because you have the sneakers with these
Mhm.
stripes that now they're becoming again into the market, and I think they're really nice. And of
And
course,
now,
ET was was huge. Actually, what I have felt nowadays is that all the commerce are trying to sell us what we got as a children then for our children now, of course, and ET and Hello Kitty and sneakers are coming again, and of course, you want them for your child. It's a good strategy.
and now go to new things. Um, can you tell us when was the last time you tried something new? And what was it?
The last time I tried something new, I don't know.
I think
People
you
have been doing
try
a lot of new
new
things
things
every
every
time. Every
day.
time you go to a new city, they want you to try what is typical from there. So I don't know, maybe things that give you in somewhere, but in the campaign, I, I I cannot recall a specific one, but I can tell you there is a lot of magical food all over Colombia. For example, in Norte de Santander, you can find something which is very peculiar, which is garbanzo. I don't know the name in English. The small
Yeah,
yellow bean, and they make a cake of it, and it's really nice. And if you go,
legume.
yeah, and if you go uh, to every place, you will find something so nice. A lot of fruits that are amazing, and I don't know. I always try all the fruits they give me.
But I think that you always are trying the politicians new things every day.
Yeah, because
I'm
everywhere
sure
you
about
go, everybody wants to show you something new. So of course,
exactly.
you should try. I'm more not into like weird mix, like things that I don't know. I'm more scared. Give
Thank
myself.
you. And do you have a memory that still makes you loud today?
I'll say.
See.
Oh yeah, I have a memory which is I always laugh with my husband about it. We were Amapola was like I don't know 1 year and a half or something like that, and she was in the bed with us. But my husband is kind of he doesn't sleep. He's sonambulo. How do you say that?
Mhm.
And he acts when he sleeps. So he didn't want to be beside the baby because since he do things sleeping, it's like he could like
Sleepwalker.
yeah. So I was in the middle and she was in the right side. And suddenly in the middle of the night, like, bah! And I was like, oh, Amapola fell. And Thomas like, wow, probably she's hurt. It was horribly hard. And yeah, it was like, yeah, horrible. And suddenly we were talking to each other. And suddenly we hear like, hey, I cannot get into the bed again. Help me. And we were like, oh, it was so funny because we were like talking about how worried we were, but she was there and nobody was taking care of her, and she was like, "Hey, help me! I cannot get into the bed by myself." I laugh every time I remember that.
Very funny, really.
Yeah, it was. It was.
What is your first habit that your sparks productivity? What is the
Probably
first
writing.
thing that you do
In the morning when
that you makes you your day very productivity? For example,
no, I don't know everything. It just knowing that you have a new day and that you have a lot of things to do. It's like the agenda, for example, I think it's a way in which you can be connected of what you're going to do because you know the day before and you have been checking what you're going to do and you know the times and you know what you should do. And if you feel that you can rely on your agenda, you'll know usually the time will be enough and that you will be fulfilling the longer purpose.
you are very organized.
Yeah, no, but I tried.
And which habit makes you unique?
Unique? No, I don't think I have very particular habits that make me unique. But I feel that maybe what it makes a difference between me and many people in Colombia is that I'm obsessed with things happening. I think Colombia turns to think saying things is the same as doing things, and I think doing things is very difficult and very different. And things are not done until they're done, and the way in which you should do things is now. Because every time you think you will have more time in the future to do this because it's so important, you won't do it, or you'll do it with the smallest time. So if you're going to do it late with the same time that you're going to do it now, do it now.
Cool, thank you. And now we are going to the last question. If you will write your own biography, how would you name the title? The title, sorry.
Title? I'll say everybody has wings to fly.
Nice name.
Not even a dove.
You talk
not only a
about
dove, because my name is Paloma, but it also translates in pigeon or dove or whatever you want. So I'll say something like that, like kind of fun.
I love it, really. Thank you so much, Paloma, for
Thank you
talk about you, your interesting and about other things that are not precisely about politics to our friends that are hearing us in our podcast.
No, thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast, and I hope these conversations give strength, wings, makes realize every woman that they have wings to fly, that you only have to open them and fly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.